So today we're looking at the third move of the Chen style Taiji Laojia old frame curriculum. It's called Lazily Tying Coat. We'll be looking at two different segments. First segment's going to be just basic overview. What are my hands doing? What are my feet doing? Where's my weight going, etc. And then the second level I want to get into for those of you who've already done the form for a little while and want to take your training to the next level. Like, where should your attention be as you do the form, which maybe you've been doing this move for a couple of years and you're reaching a standstill and you want to get a little bit more out of it. So let's get started. Today, which is usually the third move out of most of the Chen forms, begins right after we finish Buddha's attended warrior pounds the pestle. Now, when we're in this posture, beginning the move, remember all of your Tai Chi basics. Where's your weight on your feet? Is your pelvis dropped? How bent are your knees? Is your chin pulled forward? Should it be tucked back, etc.? All this stuff should be familiar to you already. And we begin on the left foot. Turn to the left, hand snakes up. Shift to the right, hand split. Turn to the right, hands come around a circle. Shift back to the left, and this time shift all the way to the left and prepare to step. Step, settle, and turn. Shift. Split apart again. Rotate around and settle. Now, we finish this move. I'm mostly on my right foot. My weight's still through my heels, chin still tucked, maintaining proper posture. About 70-30, maybe 65-45, whatever you want to, somewhere in that range, but you want to be favoring the right foot. That's the important part. Now, with this move, notice the hands are doing this type of rotation in the first part. They come together. Then they do this type of rotation again at the second part. If you're sort of new to this move, this is what you should be focusing on as you do it, is how do I get my hands to rotate around a circle, opposite each other, come together, and then again, rotate opposite each other into finishing into posture. Now, the important thing that Chen style emphasizes is when we do our stepping, we want to shift all the weight to one foot, step out, and settle into those feet before we continue the motion to complete the movement and to complete into the posture. So, what we mean by this is, let's say we're doing our motion here, turn, shift, turn, step, etc. I've shifted all my weight into my left foot, pick my right foot up, as you can see. When I step out, and now here, take a moment to settle into this posture. So the feet, you've stepped out with your heel, you've settled into the heel, you can feel the toes are on the ground, balls of the feet are on the ground, edges of the feet are on the ground. Drop into the whole part of your foot. Toes shouldn't be active, shouldn't be gripping the floor with the toes. Just through the heels, to the balls of the feet, around the sides, around the edges. Drop into that, relax the hips, especially the hip flexors. Relax the hip flexors and make sure the spine is nice and straight, the tailbone is tucked, and the knees are not too far over your feet. Once you've dropped to that, presto. Now continue the move. Turn, turn, shift, turn, and settle. So again, once I've settled, my feet haven't changed. Where my weight is has changed because now it's over here when it used to be over here. But where my weight is on my feet has not really changed. My weight's still prioritizing the heel, pressing through the ball of the foot and distributed around the side, the outside edge. So if you find yourself as you do this move, if you find your weight sort of shifting all around each part of the foot, each major part of the foot, first focus on how you're stepping, and then focus on how you're standing once you're in your posture. So if you find yourself step, we're about to step out and you're sort of wavering a little bit, you can't keep this balance, well, first, keep the knee bent, remember where your weight is, drop the weight into the heel, and as you pick up the foot with more of your core muscles than your leg muscles. So don't think of picking your foot up like this and dragging it up with your hip flexors. Think contract through the core, pull inward like you're compressing. Compress, 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 step out, expand. And once you've expanded, now you should feel immediately down through the heels, through the ball, around the edges of the foot. So let's say you've been doing Tai Chi for a little while, Chen Tai Chi for a little while, and this stuff is already fairly familiar. You already know where your hand is supposed to be, where your weight is supposed to be, how to step out, the idea that every move is basically just silk reeling in a certain posture. Let's say all that's pretty familiar sounding. So what do? Where should your attention be in this move in order to bring your proficiency to the next level? Let's take a look at that. So there are two places to begin analyzing the move in order to level up, in order to get to the next level. One of them is understanding the limbs with relationship to one another, and the other one is sort of in conjunction with that, understanding how all 13 methods, all 13 postures of Tai Chi are relevant to every single move in the form. So we'll look at how the 13 postures apply to Lazily Tying Coat some other time. Right now we'll just look at how the limbs are related to one another, and how expansion and contraction and silk reeling, and by silk reeling and coiling motion, coiling energy, how all of these apply to the move in order for you to know where you should be focusing in order to get the move to work. So when we begin the move, obviously, as I mentioned before, most of our weight's on our left foot. We already kind of know that. And now let's focus on what our hips are doing and how our hips are connected to what our shoulders are doing. Right now we're sort of relatively neutral. Our hips are at a neutral point. They're not turned in either direction. My shoulders are relaxed. My shoulders aren't doing anything. My arms are both pretty much at my sides with my hands in the middle. When I begin to turning in that direction prompts me for one hip to retreat backwards and one hip to come forwards, because I'm turning like a corkscrew, like a wine screw. Turn, 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 turn. As I'm turning, that prompts one elbow to come backwards and both elbows sort of come in, but one's coming in to press upwards, one's coming in to pull towards me. So it's sort of a give and take, like this happening, except it's this happening and turning, corkscrewing upwards. Now, once my wrist has reached about my chin, neck area, and I've turned as far as I can in that direction, now I shift. As I shift, my weight goes to my right foot, and I turn the other direction and open. Now, I'm still turned in this direction. Turn back to neutral, my shoulders open, my hips open. Notice the shoulders have opened from here, they've opened. They haven't opened up, and broken my posture. I don't want to break my pung, my structure. I want to keep my structure, but from a sort of a condensed, compressed posture, they split, and now as I turn back to neutral, they open up into a full posture, like I'm a hose and I've just filled the hose with high pressure water. Open up. Now I rotate around. Now the posture, the shoulders in the chest stay in this posture, but the shoulders, the arms can rotate around in this posture from here. Rotate around as I rotate in my hips in this direction, shift, and now think again of compression. But this time the compression is not just the shoulders coming sort of together a little bit and activating all these muscles through here and through the back. Now the compression is also pulling my foot, my leg, toward my core, because I'm about to step out with it. So as I compress through the shoulders and draw inwards, I'm also compressing through the hips and pulling inwards. When I compress through the hips, I do not want to compress and think of like pulling this way, like I'm pulling my chest down to my knee and breaking my back posture into like a crescent moon shape or like a hyperextended shape. Obviously, I don't want to do that. I want to keep my spine still in its nice up and down position like I'm doing standing post, but I want to activate all these muscles through my core, especially the deep muscles in the core, to pull the knee toward my core. Same thing's applying with my arms and shoulders as well. All of this energy, all of this motion, I should say, is controlled from the deep core. That's usually what they mean when they say move from Dantian. Move from your core, your deep core. All those complex relationships the muscles have down there, that's going to drive all of your motion out to the extremities of your limbs. So, one more time again. Turn. As my hips turn, one goes back, one goes forward. Elbows come in, corkscrew. Once I reach the limit, shift, continue the screw in the other direction. Now turn. Think open the hips, open the shoulders. Now as I turn to the other direction, shoulders have reached their limit. The arms rotate around, shift, and compress. And step. Now as I've stepped, I've expanded into my posture. Now here's this expansion. You should feel full expansion from your sternum all the way out to your arm, and here again, from your sternum all the way out to the arm, even though this elbow is downward. You want to feel like you're reaching this as far out as it'll go, pressing this out as far as it'll go, but also pressing this elbow as far out as it'll go, pressing this elbow as far down as it'll go. The chin stays tucked, shoulder, the crown of the head stays plucked. Full expansion all the way down. This is mirrored through the legs. I should feel like I'm pressing outward and downward through the legs as well. All the way out. Nice full structure. And now, once you feel that, don't go to the extreme. Relax into that structure and continue the motion. Turn. Relax both hips. Press with your right foot to turn to the left. This prompts me to rotate this shoulder and rotate this elbow around and drop the other elbow. Turn here. This type of motion is driven by turn here. As I rotate, I expand my shoulder and continue. Shift. As my hands split, I'm thinking of pulling toward my core downwards with this arm, like physically pulling. And as I'm pulling, this shoulder is at one point, it never breaks posture. You should never have your wrist crossing the center line. You should be turning instead. But it's going to reach that limit and then settle down. As this shoulder settles, we want to think of pulling this arm, rotating upwards. As this rotates palm up, my crown also finishes a stretch almost to the ceiling, which anything that's going up, you have something opposite happening that's pulling you down as well. So it's sort of a stretch. The other hand is the more obvious hand, because it's the one in front of us. That's the one we're usually thinking more about. As the right hand expands outward, open, 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 really think of pressing open and turn, and then as we turn our hips back to neutral and we settle ourselves neutral, everything drops into place. Turn here, drop here, same time. Press and finish. That's the whole thing. So both hands, both feet, turn, shift, push and pull, turn, and neutral, finish. So if you've never done this move before, the things to keep in mind are how to step and focusing on your silk reeling, where the silk reeling is found in this move, especially focusing on one hand going high and one hand going low, and they sort of mirror each other. They're just coming around in a circle to each other, and they meet in the middle, and then as you press out, again, they come around a circle and finish. So it's this type of thing happening. If you've never done the move before, once you kind of get the basics for it, come in and see hopefully me or any other instructor here at Wulin, and we'll sort out your details. Or if you don't live in this country, go to the nearest Chen style master, and they'll sort it out. If you have done this move before and you're looking for a little bit deeper, where to go next with it, really start playing with, what are my elbows doing with relation to what my knees are doing? Especially what are my hips doing in relation to what my shoulders are doing? Because the body has a sort of, you take a mirror or a line of symmetry and draw it across about where the ribs, the bottom part of the ribs, and you see a symmetry between what the hips are doing and the shoulders are doing, what the knees and elbows, and eventually what the ankles and wrists are doing. Don't worry about that for now. Just really start focusing on how the core will drive motion toward the hips in one direction and a complementary motion to the shoulders going upwards. So as you're stepping, as you're moving, as you're settling your weight, as you're turning your waist, shifting you're from side to side, shifting from foot to foot, think that is activity that my core should be driving. How is that activity mirrored by what my shoulders and arms are doing on the top of my body? That's what we should be looking at. So that's all we have time for today. Hopefully this coronavirus, COVID-19 stuff remedies itself pretty quickly, and we can get you guys back in here training with us. For those of you who have never heard of our studio, you can find our website is in the description, etc. And if you've never done Tai Chi, there's no better time to start than when you have no access to an instructor except through this little telephone or this little computer screen. You can find us that way. Hopefully you're able to get into a real studio in like a month or two whenever this all blows over, hopefully blows over. So train at home, stay active, don't be sedentary, and we'll see you again.